In this video, we're going to look at adding some of our own data into Power BI Desktop using the functionality on the Home tab called Enter Data. And then we're going to create a relationship between two tables. So I've previously done videos on Power BI, and if you want to get up to speed with that, then I'd suggest that you watch the whole playlist from the start, and I'll put the description in the link below. Now we've got our data set here called pupils, and I'd like to look at enhancing it. So the problem that I'm facing in the graph that I have is that I have the month of the year, the birth month of the children in the class, and I've sorted it. If I click on this ellipsis, I can sort by birth month, and I've sorted it in ascending order, but it's actually done it in alphabetical order, and I want the calendar month. So one option would be to add a new column and then do a long if statement to say that if it's January, then create a new field that would label that as 1, if it's February, then 2. But I want to be a bit more clever about the way I do that. So I'm going to use the Enter Data functionality first to create a new table called month. So I'm going to call it month. One of the important things is to understand the data that you've got in the background here. So I'm just going to write these out. So this is the field that we'd be joining our data on. So they need to be set out in exactly the same way. August, September, October, November and December. And then I'm going to add an ID field here, and then we've got different IDs, and this will help us to sort it. Okay, and then I'm going to name that table month, and we're going to load it up. So on the right hand side you can see the pupils data set, and when it loads up the new month table you will then see this that there are now two tables there. So before we go any further, I'd like to look at the modelling section here, which is where the power happens with building relationships between tables. Now, Power BI has been very intuitive and created a relationship for us already called using the ID fields, but it's not the ID fields that we want to join on, it's actually the birth month from pupils with the month from the month table. So I need to edit this, so I can double click on this relationship and I can change that. So if I click on month and then birth month, the relationship will be active, and then I don't need to change anything else, so I can click on OK. The other way I could have done that is to click on manage relationships, and that would I could click on the one that's relevant and click on edit, and that would get me to a similar place. So we'll close that. And now I'm going to go and create a table because I want to have a quick look at my data and make sure it's doing what I want it to do. So if I go to the birth month from the pupils, and then I'm going to bring through the ID. And I don't want to count it, I actually want to, don't summarise. Oh, there, it's down there. Okay, so it's added a new one here. So let me just have a look at what's going on. So I can see, if I make my values a bit bigger, you'll be able to see that April is actually not populated at all at the moment. So I need to do something about that. Now I can see very quickly that the reason is because the data set actually for most of the months is 3 letters, but for April it's 5. Now on this occasion I'm actually going to change the month table to be exactly the same birth month. But if I was going to do this properly, I'd probably want to go and do some changes to the data set I'm pulling in and rename that so it's consistent. But for the time being, we're going to go to month and we're going to click on the ellipsis, go to edit query. And then we are going to go to the month which we've got clicked on, go to source. And then we can click on this table here, so on this line, so we've got April, click on OK, and then we can close and apply. Okay, so that should do something in the background, bring through the data. Now we've got a value for it. So if I sort that by ID, then I'm now getting this in the order I want it to. But I don't want to have the ID showing in my graph or in my table. So the next thing I can do, if I go to my month in the month table, so now I'm going to click on month, I'm going to go to modelling, I click on it. And if I click on month, I can now sort by the column, and I can click on this and I can click on ID. So if I remove my ID from this table now, I can sort this. So I can sort by this birth month field, but I've just realised it's actually the field from the pupils data set. So I'm going to bring in through the month from the values and get rid of this. So now if I sort by the month, I'm getting January, February, March all the way to December, and that's because I've sorted it by my ID. So now on this graph, I'm going to change, instead of using birth month, I'm going to use month from my new table, remove that. And now I can get rid of this table, and now I have got this in the order that I want it to be in, which is in calendar months. Now I might go on to do some work around combining that with the year. That one would be one for another time, but you can see that we've managed to use some of the core functionality in Power BI to order our graph in the way that we want it to. It's very powerful, and this is just really the tip of the iceberg of what we can do with Power BI. So if you want to keep up to date with the rest of this series on Power BI, then click on subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications.